Hello friends, welcome to my channel. Today we will be discussing about identification, authentication, authorization and auditing. Very important concepts, very simple concepts and very important concepts in cybersecurity. Okay, so they play a huge role in mobile and web applications okay, mobile and web applications or systems. Okay, where this authentication uh, where the user identification, authentication and authorization and auditing plays a critical role. So these are core concepts with regard to cyber security. Okay, almost everywhere today we can see that in systems these are things are implemented, these things are there. You cannot access systems without authentication. There are proper channel is established so that a user uh, has a valid access to the system. Not mean There are not many systems where uh, which allow global access. Very limited systems are there, or depending upon the use case. Okay, so today we will begin with the identification. So identification is uh, means to verify the user, or means to identify the user. Okay, means to identify the user. So identification is through the username. Okay, and or through user ID or through some unique identifier. It can be a card. Okay, the max strip card or a token which the user is carrying. So identification happens through username, user ID. Most commonly, these two things are there. Okay, user supplied input. Okay, so through these things, identification happen. I will explain you with one simple example. You have a computer. You are accessing some website. Okay, assume it is a Facebook site. Okay, FB. So you supply your username, which is a identification parameter. Okay, and the next step is the authentication. Okay, so in the authentication, uh, the system verifies the user against some parameter, through some correlated parameter. Okay, which is password. Okay, so user identity, you have provided your identification through your username. Okay, next thing is you also provide the password. So this password thing helps you to authenticate. Okay, when you supply both of these things are validated at the system end. Okay, these things are validated at, okay, this server. Okay, so the server checks the username and password against its database, and if it matches, it allows you to access the resources. Okay, so accessing resources is pertains to authorization. Okay, we will move on to that part later on. We will first discuss the authentication. So I hope you understand identification and authentication. I have written here something you know, something you have, and something you are. Authentication refer. There are three types of authentication. Just remember that this is type one authentication. This is type one authentication. Something you know. This is type 2 authentication. Something you know refers to passwords or a PIN. Okay, PIN and password most commonly. Something you have is you. It can be some security token. Okay, or card. Okay, or your any electronic device which helps you to authenticate. Okay, okay. So something you have, any unique thing or not unique thing. Okay, which helps you to authenticate. Okay, token, security tokens, and card. Okay, that can be a very good example. Third thing is something you are. This refers to the biometric. Okay, your fingerprints. Okay, your iris scan. Okay, so these things come under the something you are. So I hope you understand these two things: identification and authentication. Okay, not much difficult. Okay, uh, next we will move on to authorization. Authorization refers to the I will first explain you one concept, which is regarding subject and object. Okay, so subject, basically you keep in mind it is a user. and object, it can be files on the system. In simple terms, I'm explaining files on the system, files, folders, okay, or programs you have, okay. So just simply keep in mind these things, okay. So very layman term, I'm explaining. Subject you can keep in mind as user. So after the identification and authentication, the user is allowed to access the resources, okay, files, certain files on the system, okay. If the user is identified and authenticated, he isn't by default, he isn't by default not provided access, not provided access to all resource, okay. So basically, what I'm trying to say is that subject is given some roles, okay, privileges, okay, with regard to his level, okay, or rights, okay. So roles, rights, and privileges. Both three of the terms are very different, but you keep in mind that uh, according to that, it is allowed to access certain resource onto the system, okay, files. And so these things refers to the authorization, okay, allowing access to certain resources on demand to the subject is authorization, okay. So subject accesses the object. So I hope you understand the authorization. Authorization to access certain resources like softwares, okay, files or programs onto the system. If you are not allowed to access certain any resource on the system, you will be an error will pop up. Simple example is if you are accessing some resource which is owned by other user, access is denied message is shown, okay, in Windows, if you happen to encounter that. So this is a uh, example of authorization failure, okay, authorization failure. So this was all about the authorization part. Auditing is simply refers to logging, programmatically logging, okay, user activities on the system, okay. So basically, why do we log the user activities? Because of non-repudiation, okay. It also helps us with the audit trail. uh, it helps us with audit trail mostly, and for the non-repudiation. So non-repudiation, I hope you are aware, but I will explain you. It's a very important concept in cybersecurity. Non-repudiation refers to the user cannot deny having performed the action, okay. So user cannot deny having performed the action, okay. So this can be established through the means of recording the user activities, okay, associate and linking that account activities to the particular user, okay, to the unique unique ID, okay. So identifier is attached to whatever the user activities are performed on the system. So that helps with the auditing part. In Linux, if you have heard audit log, okay, audit log is there, which helps us to establish uh, what is done by the particular user, okay, or what happened on the system. So this was all about auditing, okay, logging, recording the user activities, and non-repudiation, okay. So I hope you like the video, and if you have some comments, please do drop in the comment section. I will be happy to answer that. Thank you very much.